Welcome to the Gary Sinise Foundation podcast. Today we get to talk to a person who I have known for almost 10 years now. Someone I've met when I first started here at the Gary Sinise Foundation. A remarkable person, retired United States Army Staff Sergeant Travis Mills.
What's up? How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Living that dream all day, every day. I mean, just over here crushing it and excited to be your friend. You know what I mean?
Good, me too.
And you're right, we've known each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
And over those years, just friendship blossomed.
Friendship blossomed.
It's like beautiful flower.
Okay, well, I'm going to give a little history on you.
Do your thing.
Okay. Travis was deployed in Afghanistan when an IED took both of his arms and both of his legs. He is one of only 5 quadruple amputees from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan to survive such severe injuries. He's one of the most inspiring people you'll ever meet, and he's a huge supporter of Gary, his mission, and the foundation. All right, so Travis, we'll go back before the day that we met.
Right.
To April 10th, 2012.
Yes, a pretty big day in history. Yeah. Abraham Lincoln was shot on the 14th.
Yeah.
But not the 10th. More importantly, on April 10th, 2012, on my third deployment to Afghanistan, we went on patrol, and, you know, we just get right in the nitty-gritty here, you know. We went out. We had a phone call from village elder. We were helping build schools and dig wells and trying to separate the population from the Taliban. That was our whole, it was called counterinsurgency. And we went out. We always had a minesweeper in front of us. But where I was at over in Maywan and Maywan proper, my troop had 80% of the contact in the area. So we were always engaging with the Taliban and fighting. And just so happened a month and a half into my deployment, we got a phone call and went out. We had a guy in the front of the minesweeper sleeping the ground. And it was really weird. Our tactics over there on this deployment were, like, we had to move slow in a line. If we got shot at, you take a knee. You don't just dive for cover because they booby trap all the cover areas. And so we'd always go, and I was in charge of the weapons squad, which means I had the 240 Bravos I was in charge of, the big dismounted carried machine guns. And we were pretty good at our job, so I guess the Taliban started kind of targeting us. And we marked the spot where we were going to set up. The guy with the minesweeper swept it once, marked it clear, swept it one more time. He always did it twice just to be certain for us. And I took my backpack off. It was a 120-pound backpack full of water, grenades, ammo. And I set it on the ground, and underneath it was actually a bomb. It was a pressure plate IED, and it went off. And I went through the air. The next thing I knew, I was laying on the ground with my right arm completely gone, left leg completely gone. They never found those pieces of me. My left eye started to swell shut, but as I was looking at myself, my right side was gone, my left leg, and I'm not sure how gruesome you want me to be. I'm not trying to be too bad.
You're
but
fine. Go for it.
My left ankle bone on the outside of my foot was touching my left thigh, basically, so muscle and tendon and some skin holding my leg on, but that was it. And then I had use of my thumb, index, and middle finger, but I did not have use of my pinky and ring finger. And as I was laying there on the ground, looking at all this, within seconds, my medic, Dan, was on me. And he's putting tourniquets on my right side, and my platoon sergeant, Sergeant Hambright, was putting tourniquets on my left side. And as they were putting tourniquets on me, I just looked at my medic. I said, hey, you're not going to save me. Like, go save my guys. Not that, you know, I wasn't, like, giving up on life, but I had 2 guys yelling for the medic. And with my, you know, times being overseas and my third deployment, I've seen some things, right? So I just thought, no way is this going to, you know, I'm not going to make it through this. Like, I've seen guys die for a lot less injury, I thought. So I told him, don't worry about it, just, you know, save my guys. And he ignored me, right? Kept putting tourniquets on me. And I reached for my trucker mic on my chest, and I radioed my lieutenant, and he was in a different part of the patrol. And I said, hey, you know, 6, this is 4. I need your medic with mine. So he sent Doc Voice over, and Doc Voice worked on the other 2 guys that were hit with me, Brandon and Ryan. And then when he got them bandaged up, they came over and he worked on me. They put a sternum IV in me. It was the only pain I felt the whole time.
What?
Like, yeah, so 18-gauge needle. They had to pick it up and just slam it into my chest because they had to get entropy. I think that's what it's called. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I am. I got 4 doctors, actually. I do. Honorary, but whatever. But they hit me in the chest with it to get the sternum IV. And it's the only time I was like, ow, what are you doing? That hurt, you know. And when he got to me within 10 minutes, the helicopter got there. They loaded me and the 2 guys on the helicopter. And then I made it to the hospital, and they were pushing me down the hallway to the ER, and I kept trying to sit up. And I'd get to my left elbow, and I'd get ready to throw myself forward. And every time I'd get to my left elbow, just throw myself forward, a nurse would push me down. About third time she pushed me over, I yelled. I said, "Hey, quit touching me! Like, leave me alone." And I got back to my guys. It's been a big mistake. I need to get my feet back underneath me. And I got back to my guys, and the nurse looked at me and said, "Look, I don't know, how you're still awake. And unfortunately, like you can't. You got to go. We got to work on you or whatever." And then she started knocking me out. And that's where I freaked out a little bit. Like, I remember on the ground, I was talking with Alex and them about, like, yeah, I want to, hold Chloe. I want to get back home. My daughter, 6 months old at the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, I was now going to be put under. Like, I was no longer going to be in control of the situation as much as I could be in control of the situation. And the nurse knocked me out. And before I went under, I looked at her and said, "Hey, my little girl, I'm never going to see her again." And then they knocked me out. And then 9 doctors and 7 nurses worked on me for 14 hours. Just like you see on TV. Mm-hmm. And I was given the most blood ever given to anybody at the time in the hospital, where they ran out of blood in the blood bank that day. So people were rushing to the doors to donate A positive and universal blood, as well as the doctors and nurses working on me were taking blood from them, giving it to me as well. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yep. And then all that was happening, and by the end of it, after those 14 hours, I was a triple amputee, and I still had my left arm. And that was on the 10th of April. And then Kelsey's brother was deployed. He was the reason I met Kelsey on our first deployment, Gotta be honest, I was looking pretty good. And she was thinking I looked pretty good, too. So she sent, like, a MySpace friend request.
Mm-hmm.
So,
good old MySpace.
Oh, yeah. But on paperwork, it's kind of weird. I deployed 3 times. And every time I went, I had to fill out paperwork called the Blue Book. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the Marines, like, what they had. Like, we had called the Blue Book, but you plan your funeral, in case something happens. Mm-hmm. Buried here with this music, this ceremony, what's in my coffin. You need to pick, like, what you want in your coffin. It's normal. I guess it's normal. I don't know. But the last question is, who escorts your body home, if anybody? And I always put Josh, and he always put me after, I got married to his sister. So they called Josh and told him what happened. He had to fly in. And then they flew us to Bagram on the 12th of April, and they cut my hand off because they took it in and realized it was dead. Mm-hmm. Necrotized, what they call it, the skin necrotized. Mm-hmm. So they cut my hand off, and then I became a quadruple amputee. And then 2 days after that, they flew us to Germany, and they let me wake up from my medical sedation on my 25th birthday. I mean, they didn't pick it because it's my 25th birthday. It just happened to be the 25th birthday.
What are the odds?
I know, right. The Titanic sank that day, too. And Lincoln was shot, so pretty substantial. But,
oh, my gosh.
What? I'm just saying, it's history. But, no, they woke me up, and then when I came to, the only person in the room that day was my brother-in-law. Oh. And I looked over at Josh, and I said, "My soldiers, how are my soldiers, right? Mission first." And he told me what happened to Ryan and Brandon, where they were at. And then I asked him, "Am I paralyzed?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Josh, I can't put my fingers and toes. Like, you can tell me the truth. Am I paralyzed?" And he was like, "No, you're not paralyzed, but you don't have them anymore." Mm. And he just shot it straight to me, And the only thing I said was, "Oh." And then I ignored everybody for about 3 hours. Doctors and nurses, they all come up. And you lay on your back, right? And I can't roll or anything, so I lay on my back, and they would get my line of sight, and they asked me a question, and I just looked the other way. And I do it the other way. And Josh tried talking to me. And, I had my own questions, right? And the thing is, like, not to draw too many comparisons, but, like, just like Lieutenant Dan, like, this is not what's supposed to happen. This is not my destiny. Yeah. Like, this is not, I was going to do 20 years, retire, high school teacher and football coach. I had all these different plans. Yeah. And after 3 hours of ignoring everybody and I have my own questions for all my head, I finally listened to my brother-in-law when he said I had to call my wife. And I called her, and we didn't have much of a conversation. I didn't want to talk to her. And then I called my parents, same thing. Then I made it home the 17th of April, and when she came out to see me the first time, they pulled me off the truck, and they stopped her short and said, "Hey, Mrs. Mills, is your husband's right leg ripped open, his suture split, and we have to cut 2 inches off his right leg, but now you're in charge of medical care." So they made her sign paperwork to cut my leg off higher. I mean, last time she saw me, I was 6'3", 250 pounds. And now they're saying, "Hey, we have to cut your husband's leg even higher." So, rightfully so. I mean, she freaked out a little bit, and I think I just yelled to the crowd, because I didn't even see her. I just yelled to the people, like, "Hey, just sign it. It's fine. Just sign it." And then she did, and they took me off for surgery. And then the next day I told her, she should leave. She says I didn't say that, but I'm pretty famous for saying that. I thought for sure she'd leave me, but it was just so enticing, that handicap parking. So she was going to ride it out and see how it went. You know, and the nation, like, it was notified. It was all over the news. So she's like, oh, can't really leave now. And I tried to build, I tried to build my social media. So now if she leaves me, I'm like, I will wreck you.
That's exactly how it went.
Is that pretty? Okay, yeah. Kelsey says yes.
Kelsey says yes. Kelsey approved.
I think so.
Yeah, but she stuck it out.
Yeah, lucky her. I tell her every day. She wakes up, she goes to sleep. You're so lucky to have me. I tell her, yeah. So she knows. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you wrote a book. You actually wrote 2 books.
Well, Marcus Brotherton and Kathy Hook helped me write these books.
You wrote a book.
Yes.
Well, 2 books. But the first one, Tough as They Come, there's a quote in there, and it stood out to me, and it was I'm just a man with scars.
Yeah.
You're kind of underplaying it a little.
No, I got cool. I do have a dent in my right butt cheek.
Oh my God.
No, I do. It's weird, but.
Snort.
No, I'm just saying. I am a guy. I do, right?
No, please don't.
No. I feel, you know. So I met George Bush one time. I met him a couple times now, but the first time I met him, I was so nervous. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's actually George Bush." And he goes, "Come on in, Big T." And I'm like, "I'm so nervous you're not gonna pee." He goes, "Bathroom's around back." I'm like, "I don't have to pee, but I could." And then, same thing. If I drank a bunch of Dr. Peppers, I probably have to. You know what I'm saying? A lot of correlation here. A lot of correlation.
You're one and the same.
What? So yes, a guy with scars.
Yes.
Here's the thing. The world we live in today is a lot different than the world of Vietnam, World War II, World War I.
Yep.
Guys like me either didn't make it back home, or they did, and they didn't have the resources and the things that I'm able to do. And if I look at life differently, if I just accept this is my new normal, life will go on, and I can make the most out of it, which I feel like I have. Yeah. You know, in a way of my injuries don't. I mean, I don't say they define me; they kind of do, right? But I was just talking to Kelsey about this. You know, coming out here to the podcast, I was really excited to be here, and you know, and I'm like, how do I shape this so it sounds right? Like it's a hand up. You know, as much as it's a hand out, you know, it's a hand up. And when I met Gary for the first time at the hospital, I mean, obviously I was like all drugged up, so I was like, Lieutenant, damn, you know. But you know, that's what you do.
Yep.
That's what you do. But I went and said the pledge. The first time I ever left the hospital since my injury, since their injury occurred, was to go to one of his Rolling Thunder concerts. And I wheeled up on stage, and I was 140 pounds, and I got to say the Pledge of Allegiance, meet Gary Sinise, like the Gary Sinise. And then he either came in the next day or day after and had a conversation and was like, "Hey, we're gonna build you a house." And I remember being like, "Oh no, I don't need. I'm good, sir. Like I appreciate it." And I think like 3 times him saying like, "No, you don't. No, you're gonna get one of these smart homes."
But
and I'm
really?
like, "Yeah, but no, I appreciate it. I have a, you know, I got a like in North Carolina." He's like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." And
He's persistent.
yeah, oh yeah. And because of Gary and helping us, and Kelsey and I wondering like, what in the heck are we gonna do? I tell my story all the time. I don't know why this is happening. So I do for a living. But I can remember when I got to home, thanking him. He was on air somewhere, and saying I got to bring my family home. But also, I can remember sitting in a hospital bed wondering, like, what next? You know, like, what am I gonna do? Because I kind of lost my chance to serve my country, and you know, greatest job I ever had. But being at Walter Reed and having Gary come in and all these other things we were able to do, like learn how to go downhill mountain biking and snowboarding and I don't know, you name it, they let us try it. Kelsey and I thought, well, we can start a nonprofit. You know, if Gary's, you know, Sinise can do this, like we can do something. And we started with just care packages. $5,000 we donated for care packages, and then it got to the point where we could give back to families. And then I thought, well, what else can I do? So we were going to just start a little camp, like rent someone's camp for a week or 2 a year, and bring these families out that I've met through the hospital. obviously people that you guys have built houses for and helped out along the way. And realize that life's not over, get off the sidelines. Unlike my college football career. Oh, I tell you what. Yeah, it's one position I was really good at in college. Sideline. No, I was there all season. It was great. But I was redshirted, whatever. So yeah, we thought we could start a nonprofit and we could give back. And then that nonprofit has grown and done a lot of cool things for a lot of families, and we've been able to expand some post-traumatic stress programs. And we just bought some more property for that. And I'm jumping way ahead of the story. You have your whole notes.
Well,
you haven't flipped that note card once.
I have more. You ready?
All right, yeah. Hit me, bro.
Well, I want to go back. So.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Well,
gosh, high school was so great. I had arms and legs, no waistline, and a hairline. Oh, what? But my favorite year was when I got married to my wonderful wife, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, 2008. Best year of my life.
Kelsey, forever.
Yeah.
Okay, so this podcast originated from Gary's son, Mac. And we lost Mac in early 2024. And I would remember talking to Mac about his challenging times, and he would bring up that it was our wounded who inspired him, and men and women like you. And you were actually, he would bring you up by name, you were at the top of his list. And so can you tell me where your never give up, never quit attitude comes from?
Yeah, so I think as a parent, you do anything for your kids.
Yeah.
You're supposed to anyways, in my opinion. Just like Gary, right? Did everything he could. I remember I was doing rehab, and it was one of my first times doing rehab. And I have an iPhone footage, or Kelsey has it, of me doing sit-ups with this occupational therapist. And she's like, take a break. And I was like, oh, I'm never gonna quit. She's like, yeah, it's a silly question, right? Or stupid question. I'm like, yeah, because I'm just not gonna stop. And then the never give up, never quit thing just came from realizing that no matter how many times I close my eyes and I'd think like, okay, this is a nightmare. When I open my eyes, I'm back in my unit in Afghanistan. This is all just a bad dream. I'd open my eyes and I was in a hospital bed with no arms, no legs, and I realized that if I wanted to get better, I had to do it. Yeah. And I had my wife on my side. I had my parents, my in-laws, really strong support team. I had one of the probably absolutely one of the best therapists ever with Carrie Quinn, but also the support staff that we had there with Kelly and a bunch of other ones. And my daughter was still going to be my daughter, right? So I took my recovery as my new job. Yeah. I got to work out 1 hour a day in physical therapy and 1 hour occupational therapy. Then I went to 2 hours each, then 3 hours, then 4 hours. And I was doing 8 hours a day. And then I switched it from the occupational therapy to just physical therapy. And I realized that was my recovery. But I think I was driven mostly because of my daughter at the time. And no offense to Kelsey, she was driving me too. I mean, like I was driving her nuts. But I think that if it would happen, if I wouldn't have had Chloe on my side, I don't know if I would have been the same. I hope I'd be the same, but I probably would have pushed people away and just kind of, but I couldn't. So I learned how to walk with my daughter at the same time, and I learned how to adapt to the situation and go through some frustrations. And, it's not fair what happened to me, but more importantly, I don't think it's fair what happened to Chloe and Kelsey and now Dax, our other son that I had this happen to me. But we make the most of it and we do everything we can. And that's where I get my drive from is
family. Yeah,
there's that. Plus there's also, okay, so you got people like Mac that had a terrible cancer. That's not fair. Yeah. I have a lot of friends that make it back home to their families because they were blown up or shot or whatever. And I think as bad as my situation probably looks, how lucky am I to still be here? Like how grateful am I that I have the chance to make it through my injuries and have people on my side, like, obviously Kelsey and Chloe and my family, but also, Gary Sinise Foundation, you. There's wonderful people out there that are just there to help and to push forward and to support me. But so I'm very long-winded on this. I feel like I'm talking circles, but those guys didn't make it back home, left behind their spouses, their children, their families, their loved ones. I'm still married 16 years and going strong, right?
Yes.
We were so happy at the hotel. It was a double bed, like two bed. And we're like, oh, yeah.
You're not supposed to tell everybody that.
Yeah, well.
We tried.
No, don't be mad about it. Kelsey was fired up. I was like, I'm just going to koala bear you. Just like koala bear, because I got short legs.
We tried.
Like a little koala bear on her back. Like a little fat koala bear. But.
Oh my gosh.
They're probably going to use this, Kels. Don't do that. But anyways, I think it'd be a selfish slap in the face to them, to the doctors and nurses that worked on me 14 hours, to the people that rushed over and gave me blood, if I just was like, yeah, well, this sucks, I'm out, because realistically, I'm able to do most anything I want. I do need about 5 minutes of help. If I put my legs on myself, which I can do, if they're a little bit crooked here, a little crooked there, like I kind of I try to go right and I'm walking left, my feet turn the wrong way, but there's like 5 minutes where I get help putting together, and that's probably like the worst part of my day, probably. But other than that, I can do most everything I want. Drive, obviously look at my waistline, feed myself too much, and go about living life to the fullest. And the thing is, I don't shy away from my injuries, so that's the whole reason for really the Travis Mills Foundation.
Well, you've been such an inspiration to Mac, obviously, and to myself, and to Gary. So can you tell us about the first time you met him and what was your impression?
Yeah, it's funny. I've met a lot of people. Met a lot of people that are I don't know, high powered or easily recognizable. I get famous, right? And some are super nice people. Other ones, they're like kind of like they're there for maybe maybe some publicity, but also maybe just because they have to, like voluntold, We've all been there in the military, right?
Yeah.
Voluntold.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
can't wait to go do this. But with Gary, like, he takes the time. I'm a very big apologizer for no particular reason. I just always apologize for, like, everything. And I feel like I probably told him, like, 3 or 4 times, hey, I don't want to hold you up. I'm sorry. I'm talking too much. And he's like, no. And so just a genuine, down-to-earth, good person.
Yeah.
And first time I met him, obviously starstruck to the point where I haven't really been starstruck with a lot of people. I'll be honest. I met some, like 3 people, right?
Yeah.
Lloyd Carr, former Michigan head coach.
Okay.
And I don't even know, like, he wasn't even the coach when I met him. Like, it was years after. But I was just like, Bush Jr., like I said, I almost wet my pants. And then with Gary, I was just like, oh my God, you're Gary Sinise. Like, you're and you get like word vomit and nerved up, and then you're like, oh, he's just a normal guy. He's introduced me to his family. I met his family. I've been able to go to events and represent the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Yeah.
He's even stayed at my house.
We're gonna get into that.
In my house. And I just what you see is what you get. He's just that genuine.
Yeah. So, of course, you're one of the recipients of a Gary Sinise Foundation home.
Yeah.
And you've been in it for 10 years now. 10 years now. How did it impact your life?
Not that much, yeah. Oh, come on. Come on.
I was like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, I was, no, it gave me a place to call home that was, like, able to have a wheelchair go through, and it made sense how it was set up, running the things off the phone and the iPads and just all the different things you don't think about.
Yeah.
And then being able to have my wife and daughter, now son, right, because we have another child, have us all be grounded there. I mean, we're never going to move. And it's just, it's stability. It's the chance to go out there and actually tackle life like Kelsey and I are able to do.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about, is this going to, wheelchair going to fit, or is this this shower going to work for me? I mean, I travel a lot. There are a lot of weird shower setups out there, you know what I mean? But this is all thought out and planned so that I can live life comfortably. And it's weird because she's in the room, right? Over there staring at us. But I don't want Kelsey to be a caretaker as much as she's going to put my legs on me today, right?
Yeah.
Help put my arm on. And like I said, it's 5 minutes I really don't like. But I think that these houses also give us a chance to be a married couple and not a caretaker. Like, can you move my shower chair here? Can you move my wheelchair over here? Can you help me get through the, So that was always big for me. It still is. I mean, I'm annoying. I ask her for a lot of things. Like today, she was cutting out my food at the restaurant. I didn't even ask her to. She just did it because.
She's kind.
No, because I usually just eat like put my head right on the table and eat, and she didn't want me to do that in public, I guess. But.
I'm kind.
Stop raising your hand at me, Kels. Yeah, you're kind. Okay, you're kind. You know where we got to move to Maine was because when I said let's go to Michigan, where I'm from, she said no. And the second time I said, come up, but seriously, Michigan. She took my arms, legs away, and she put me in the closet.
Oh no!
It was one of those turn knobs, not like a handle, and I just couldn't get out. Yeah.
So Maine was the settle.
Maine was a settle. Yeah. I said, fine, we'll move there.
I guess. So.
But no, I think that's what that's it's not just the freedom of having a house that's adapted that makes sense for my wheelchair and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's also it also frees up your caregivers, if you will. It helps them not have to be so dependent on in a way as a caregiver.
We actually have a clip from your home dedication.
Yeah.
That we wanted to show.
Yeah.
So let's roll it.
I want to talk about the American dream because we, if I tear up, just cheers so I get through it. Yeah, yes, yes. I had some guys walk in my room and they said, hey, check it out. This is what we do. We build houses for guys like you. And I'm like, this has got to be the drugs. There is no way someone's going to build me a house. Yesterday, I called Kelsey up and I said, I'm going to go grab something to eat. And she said, well, Chloe hasn't eaten yet. I said, let me take her. Let me get something to eat. And she said, yeah, we're going to get lunch. And then we're going to go to our house in Maine. And I looked at her and I stopped. Yay! And I turned around. I was at a stoplight, so I was stopped. I turned around and I said, no, Chloe, we're not going to our house in Maine. Because all of the time it was being built, we were living all over the place, Michigan, Texas, down the road here. So it was always our house in Maine. I said, we're just going to our house. And we're going to our home. So, yeah. So, for everybody that was involved, because there's so many people to mention, everybody up on stage, people out there, thanks for bringing my wife and my daughter home.
All right, so I love that clip. I remember the first time, I believe it's the first time that we met, and it was when Gary came to your house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he usually doesn't go to the home dedication because he likes the spotlight to be shined on the recipient of the home.
Mm-hmm.
But he does like to drop in every now and again after you've lived in the home and Kelsey lived in the home and Chloe has her own room and all of it.
Oh, yeah.
And what was your favorite memory from the visit?
Oh, you already know. When you and Kelsey got in trouble for drinking too much, he said, now, girls. And you're like, because you guys were going back down to the basement out of my bar to grab more alcohol.
Oh, my God.
That's true.
Did you do that? Yeah, he did the girls.
But
You
if you
behave.
ever seen a professional actor
I know.
play cranium
This was the best.
and get into the acting,
Yep.
I mean, I felt it. The performance was electric. But yeah, we played. I think, look, he likes everybody. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm his favorite by any means. But he did happen to stay longer. We went downtown in Hollowell. We went to Justin's Seafood. We grabbed some lobster, I believe. Went to the house, had some awesome dinner, I recall.
Yeah.
We got ice cream.
Yep.
And then played cranium.
Yep.
And then I think you and Kelsey got in trouble.
I do remember that.
It wasn't trouble. It was just like a little bit of a I remember you were like it was crazy. It was like what they talk about like bread does at a high school party because you sobered up. You're like, I just kidding. You're gonna got to use that.
We will not. I'm joking.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it, right? Like
It was normal.
just normal, just hanging out, normal, talking about family, talking about his family, talking about our family.
Yep.
And it was a really good time.
Yeah, I remember his impersonation of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
He nailed him.
I thought he did Abe Lincoln too.
I think he did.
He did a few.
So many.
Yeah.
He'd pick the ones where it had to be like, letting us know, guess a person.
Yeah, exactly. Cranium. Yep.
Yep.
I was like, I didn't want to guess. I didn't want to stop acting. I
Just
was like,
keep
let it
going.
run out. I'll take it,
Let the timer.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's worth it.
Restart it.
Well, I remember one of the other things during the visit was you were noodling an idea, and that you were noodling a way to give back, and you had brought it up with Gary, and you were saying that you were thinking about the Travis Mills Foundation.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to come clean. Come clean with you. The Travis Mills Foundation was the Travis Mills Project, and people in Maine heard I was downhill mountain biking and skiing and all this stuff. And hey, we can bring some families out to Maine. It's like you guys are going out, but we can bring some families together, and it seems like a really cool thing. So they started the Travis Mills Project, and I was supposed to be the face of it. Real simple, easy peasy, don't do anything, smile, shake hands, that's it.
Huh.
And then it got to the point where this nonprofit that was doing it, was only getting donations for that and not for their other stuff. And said, hey, we got to let this fizzle out. And I'm like, I've been skydiving with Governor Maine's wife, and going to all these conferences and talking, and also taking all this money in. I can't let it just fizzle out. I'm not even from Maine. I'm not going to take the money from everybody and then just give it to other nonprofits.
Right.
That's not what we did. So we said, we'll take the challenge on. But you're right. It did, I don't want to say take convincing, I guess. Convincing. But I did ask Gary about his thoughts on it just because I was in water over my head.
Yeah.
I don't come from a business background. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But the Travis Mills Project was what we were doing for the first little bit there, first couple of years. And then it turned out hey, look, they were done with it. I was all over the state of Maine as a newcomer and taking people's donations for this Travis Mills Project. And I'm pretty sure I had a very serious conversation before the cranium and the alcohol started about how would this work and could I do it and do you think this is a good idea? And my idea was you guys give them a home and we bring them back together after the fact and get them to try new things and not just, live life, on the sidelines, but to get out there and be active.
Yeah. I love that you explained once that it brings the families together and it lets the kids of the wounded see their family member active and participating in the fun.
Well, and I'm very comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
I've already told you guys I got a big dent on my right butt cheek. I just do. But the thing is, a lot of people won't try something new.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if everybody's the same, then they're more, it's more likely they're going to try something. So you bring people out that are in wheelchairs or amputated or, whatever, what have you, and they're all cheering each other on. But if you fall over in a kayak and you're missing your legs, so what? If you can't do the ropes course in a wheelchair or you try and you fall and have to get rescued, so what? But if you're the only person that got a resort trying this stuff, everybody fawns over you. Everybody, we don't do that. We're going to treat you just as normal. We're going to pay attention to your injuries. We're going to pay attention to your fears, but we're also not going to coddle you or make you feel like you're an outsider.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool thing about what we do at the foundation was that we can bring people out and we can have kids say, oh, you're missing a leg like my dad, or you're missing an arm like my mom, or you're in a wheelchair like this person, or that person. And it's been pretty neat. We didn't know what we were doing, Kelsey and I, and my father-in-law, Craig. We didn't know what we were doing, but we said, let's just try it.
Yeah.
And before we had real funds, we bought a facility, we fixed it up, we opened the doors, and it's been growing pretty steadily. But again, Gary's kind of been coaching me along.
Yeah.
And then believed in me and donated, and now he's one of our biggest, advocates out there helping me along, which is crazy, because we do it the right way and we make sure that we give back to these families. But yeah, we started not knowing what we were doing.
Yeah.
Kind of like this whole being handicapped. I didn't even mean to. I just kind of started it one day. It's weird. I'm 37. I got 2 feet in the grave. Can you believe that?
Oh, no.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, if there's one thing about you, and I have to bring this up, it's that with the foundation is you give back, and that's what Gary always saw in you.
Yeah.
He always saw that, and he always saw this deep inspiration for you. And one of the things that I this isn't planned, but you have these. Can you show us a 10-second dance party?
Just You got to just 10-second dance it out. Look, if you're having a rough day.
Yes, can you explain this? I want to hear it.
Yeah. At Walter Reed, there was people that would have a rough go at physical therapy or be upset or angry about something. Yeah. And we just have to stop. And everybody had to have a 10-second dance party just to reset. I was a catcher in high school, and I was pretty decent at it. And I would go to the pitcher's mound. And the thing is, when you're the catcher, you're the general on the field. Yeah. You get to talk the most. You get to touch the ball almost every play. Yeah. You get to direct what the plays they are. And whenever you want to call a timeout in the game, you can. So I'd go out to the mound and I'd say ridiculous things like, "Oh my gosh, dude, that lady over there in the blue shirt and the red shorts keeps checking me out. I think she's staring at my butt." And the pitcher's like, "That's my mom." I'm like, "I know. I know. You better tell Shirley to stop. It's getting weird." Just to get them their mind off the game, right? Yeah. Say random stuff. Like, "Oh, I'm going to meet a girl on MySpace and just end up marrying her in 17 days.
There
it's
you
no
go.
big deal. We're married forever. It's great. She's never going to leave me ever." So you just say random things, but that's what I found helps as well in recovery. Just try and do something ridiculous to get your mind off whatever's the frustrating part. Yeah. And just, resetting yourself. So, 10-second dance parties were a thing. Kesha Fridays were a thing. And luckily, not that I, in the military hospital, rank's a big deal. But I was the highest ranking guy that got injured, being an E6, so nobody could really yell at me. You know what I mean? So I don't want to do that. I'm like, "Oh well, sorry, I just checked.
You must.
I just checked. I'm like, yep, this thing's still on. My rank."
Dance.
Okay.
You
told me to dance.
No, I know you got it.
I'm afraid of you. Everybody knows that. But.
And then a full circle. Now you're giving back with your foundation. And that's a beautiful thing. Can you tell us about the Warrior Path program?
It's a great program. Boulder Crest Foundation did a big study, and they have a Warrior Path program is for veterans, and then it opened up to first responders. And they opened up, it's train the trainer. It's led by counselors that have been, guides, they call them, path guides that have been through the training. So it's just like the military, train the trainer, right? Yeah. It's not clinical thing. It's not like white coats or anything like that. Everything's private, but it's all about understanding that you can have post-traumatic growth and that we can struggle, but we can learn how to struggle well. And it's really changing people's perspective. It's helping us lower the suicide rates, and the emails we get and the stories we get about how it positively impacted someone's life and they're able to do a 180 is just insane. So we actually just bought a facility across the road from our foundation. I always tell everybody, we're not going to expand. We're not going to, this is all we're doing. And then this property came up as apartment building, and it made sense because we're trying to do 25 to 30 weeks of PATH a year. Oh, man. And instead of incorporating that into the weeks at the foundation with the family weeks, we're able to do more family weeks as well as PATH simultaneous now. Well, by 2026. Sorry. Okay. By 2026, it'll all be renovated and built and done. And, it's, again, starting from an idea of care packages and what can we do to where it's at now is insane. Yeah. And there's some new things coming out with that as well. Because a lot of these PATH participants go back home after they graduate and they change, but then they change and they're doing better, and they have a lot of maybe emotions or feelings and things they've thought about and they've had to reflect on. And their loved ones that back home don't understand what the change was and what they went through. Yeah, that's literally what their shirts say. It says shift happens.
What?
Yeah, did you not? Don't worry about that. Every graduate gets that shirt.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I thought you knew that because you said shift. I was like, oh, that's okay. I didn't know yours. Okay. But we went ahead and did a caregiver one and explained to the caregivers what was taught, not what the person said. That never gets revealed. Right. But what was taught, what classes they went through, and then we cater it to the caregiver as well. So we have PATH caregiver weeks that we're doing as well. Just like the foundation, we do family stuff. We do couples. We also have caregivers. So, when I was injured, I had Kelsey, but say Jason Church, he had his mom. Yeah. His mom came out to help him out and things like that because he wasn't married at the time. Right. So we do caregiver moms, caregiver dads, caregiver spouses.
It's all encompassing.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of the theme that what I can hear and read when I was reading your book is your second book is just the transition from trauma. Mm-hmm. And even inviting the spouses and the caregivers, they also go through a
Yeah.
traumatic experience. And to grow from that. And so, which leads me to your second book,
Yes.
Bounce Back. Can you tell us about Bounce Back and why'd you write it?
Well, I can. So I've been pretty fortunate in life with living through my injuries. And I started doing some motivational speaking. So I'm a keynote speaker now. And I found whenever I'd go and I'd speak, I'd meet people afterwards, and they'd come in line and they'd shake my hand and say hi, and they love what I'm doing. It's really how I funded the foundation renovation. Like, I would speak and for my own company, and then people would hear about the foundation stuff I was trying to do, and they would donate. But as they'd go through the line and talk to me, they'd tell me their stories. Cancer survivor, car accident, anxiety. They have a loved one that had bad anxiety, or this one person, maybe had a financial problem, a friend of a friend type deal, and they think my story would really help them. And then people were always like, well, boy, I have this problem going on, but it's nothing like yours. And I'm like, well, that's not fair, because everyone's problem that they have, like, their biggest problem is really their biggest problem, and that's valid and real. Like, I had one lady go, like, I was having a bad hair day, and then I saw you. I was like, that doesn't really count. That's a real stupid thing to say. Every now and then you're like, I was having a bad day, a broken nail, but I guess it's not as bad as what you're going through. I'm like, oh, that's nice. But I would say people's problems are valid.
Yeah.
And I thought, everybody wonders how I did it. And the answer I always had was I had to. I had a wife, I had a very young daughter, and I lived through my injuries, so there was really only two choices. It was get better or don't. And there's no way that I was going to not get better and keep pushing forward. So Bounce Back was something I thought about. How do I explain, what I went through and what other people go through, and how they're able to, bounce back. The 12 warrior principles, how to recalibrate and reclaim your life.
Yeah.
So my thought was, if I could use people's stories, right? Ginger, I used her story.
Yeah.
You guys actually connected me with Ginger, because I reached out. She was, a widow.
Yeah.
Husband was a jet pilot, right? And KIA and everything. So how can I use a story, her story to where she was at the bottom, now she's remarried and all that, how she bounced back. House fire, post-traumatic stress, divorce, obviously no arms and legs type deal.
Yeah.
And I just looked at people's stories, and then I had my spin on that, and also medical theories and studies. Kathy Huck, who helped me write the book, research author, fantastic at what she does. And I was really happy how the book came out, because it really had, I think, people's stories are relatable.
Yes.
And it showed them, how these people that were related to their story were able to get back to being good, as well as some medical reasons why the brain works how it does, or things like that. So I'm really proud of it. I've had a lot of great feedback on the book from people. And, one of my therapists at Walter Reed, Kelly Roseberry, I met her. She's one of my, people I worked with when my therapist was gone, and we became very close friends. And I said, hey, Kelly, I'm doing this cool thing in Maine. You should just give up your career here and move to Maine and help me run this thing. And it was going to be a part-time job. And 7 weeks, she's like, I don't know, maybe. And then I convinced her to move. And she moved up. And then her and her boyfriend, then they got married. And then she was like vice president of program. She had all the titles, whatever, right?
Amazing.
It was me and her, Kelsey, Craig, and then Heather and Chris basically running the show. And, she unfortunately passed away in childbirth last year. And the reason I bring the story up is because that's a tragic thing. And a lot of people, I had to make a lot of the phone calls to the therapist and occupational therapist and people at Walter Reed and families that she knew. Like, I'm the one that was like, I'll call them. Chris, you don't have to, like, I'll take it on. And Kelsey called some people too. But one of her best friends actually came to the funeral, and she had just bought my book, and she had it, like, on the way back home to Vermont, listen to it. And she's like, oh my gosh, Travis, that really helped me. Like, I hope you tell everybody to read that. And I'm like, Jess, I'm not going to tell people to read my book after this. She's like, well, I'm going to tell them, because she goes, I think that, this helps anybody going through something as tragic as this or whatever. So, and the only reason I tell you that is because it was really good feedback for me to know, like, okay, well, this book can be impactful, during tough times and things people face. So, and we've had the conversation, like, it's not fair what happened to me and her. And, I'm the one that has no arms and legs, but she has one that deal with it. And I do feel bad about that. But, through it, we've been doing the best we can with everything and figuring life out. And, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird though, right? Like my new normal.
No.
I'm worried people are gonna call me Spud because I'm like Mr. Potato Head. My shape, my arms, legs pop on and off. I tried to tell him to call me
Kip
Travis.
said
Yeah.
that he was like, he's going to pop his hand off one
Yeah.
of these moments.
I mean, call me Travisaurus Rex. That's what I'm trying to tell people. Because I'm a carnivore.
I remember you telling people that it's voice activated. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, back to your book. I will tell you that the one thing that I felt from it, and colleagues who have read it too, is that it is universal. It's everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that the impression was that maybe it would just be for first responders and veterans,
Yeah.
and it is for everybody because everybody goes through hard times.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that's funny. I think that we get put in boxes in a way.
Yeah.
Like for me, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a veteran, right? So like you're like, oh, you're a veteran, and automatically it's kind of like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? And I was called like, you're one of those wounded warriors. Like, oh, and I was like, hey, you know what? If anything, I'll be recalibrated. I was wounded, but now I've healed, so I have scars. So like, we can just say I'm like recalibrated, but I go by Travis.
Yeah.
And I think that when I started speaking, I got put in a box. I got hired for a lot of like DEI and a lot of military things. Like, come to this bank and talk, but we're gonna have you talk to like the veteran side. Or we're gonna have to talk to like the DEI and why it's important to hire people with special needs, or handicap or whatever you're supposed to say with the DEI word for it. But then after I spoke, people were like, oh, hey, you should come to our company and talk to the whole company. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll take your money twice. No problem. Whatever. No
Deal.
problem. But no, like then I get hired for and now, with my speaking now, I only speak to like usually I got like 1,200 people I'm speaking to in Orlando in 2 days, for the big conference. And I've worked my way up to that. So I'm hoping that this book, like you said, you thought it was for first responders and veterans. I hope that people see it, but they also take the approach of like, well, maybe I'll give it a read because I want to stretch just like my speaking across to everybody and not just be, put in a box, if you will.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the recalibrated versus wounded, can you one of the key points that came out to me and it came out to a friend too is the tools versus practices metaphor.
The most important thing with me I wanted to portray was like I had to stop asking why.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Gary probably would face that too if he was going to go down the path of why this happened to him and his family. Why did, Mac have to suffer? Like, why? The truth is, there's no answer that I'll ever get that's going to suffice. Even if I came to some wild conclusion, it would never be enough to know why and to think about it. So I realized I had to stop asking why. I can accept it happened. I can accept, okay, I got blown up. I lost my arms and legs. Like, that's a reality. And I can push forward to, like, make my life whatever I can with whatever I have left to offer. But at the same time, the quicker I can stop asking why, the better, because that would get me absolutely nowhere.
Right.
And that's something that keeps pushing me forward every day. Like, I have to accept this is my life. This is just who I am. I've tried. Every time I go to bed, I'm like, is it gonna grow back? Nope. It didn't. I know. But if I can stop asking why and I can accept this happened and I can keep pushing forward and just find my new normal, like, and recalibrate, if you will.
Yeah.
Then I'm good to go.
It's like the power of not labeling yourself.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm handicapped when it comes to parking. Oh, gosh. I am so handicapped. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Then it's like, yep, over here, handicap, wounded warrior. Wounded warrior who? Me. Yeah.
Okay, well, further along in the book.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, further along in the book, you talk about, and I'll tell you, I've known you for a while, and reading it was, you were so honest about
I was. Yeah.
you, like just honest about your journey, but honest about, you even express how you have the one fear that is kind of like you struggle with is your fear of failure. But the main thing that you touch point onto that is then the power of vulnerability.
You have to be vulnerable in some parts. The worst part of my whole entire recovery was when I didn't have my prosthetic and I had to have help with everything. And I had to be, that was like the most vulnerable time of my life. But I think that it really helped me understand that people are going to show up for you and they'll keep coming back. And I feel like I'm quite a hypocrite because I'm never really vulnerable. Am I vulnerable, Kels? I don't ever show any, like,
You are.
my daughter was like, I've only seen you cry once, Dad, and it was when your grandpa died. And I'm like, thanks for bringing that up, you turd.
You are.
I don't cry a lot. You cry a lot. You cry a lot.
You do.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I guess
It's like through your recovery, you've become a lot more.
it's just age.
Oh.
Yeah, getting up there in years. Look at the white in my beard. Yeah, Kelsey knows it more the other day. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good at this. You're doing way better than me.
Get outta here.
What do you think about that? Now that you're asking the hard questions, what do you think about it?
Well, what I learned from you.
Yes, from me and Kathy Huck. Yes.
What I learned from you was that it's okay to be open about it. Like, it's okay to just acknowledge it and that it's part of your journey.
Okay, so I have been a lot more open recently
Yeah.
about everything, and I think I've definitely wrote about that. But here's the thing. So for the first 6 months, I wouldn't look in the mirror at myself.
Yeah.
The mental health lady came in the first time I was sleeping. And next time she came in my room, I told her, like, she's like, hey, mental health came by to talk to you. And I was like, well, tell them never to come back. I'm not talking to them. The second time they came back, Kelsey goes, that's the mental health lady, because I saw her walk in, but I was laying down. So I just, and I pretended like I was sleeping until she
Faked it.
left. I did.
Okay.
Third time, I was eating a bowl of cereal. I had a splint material on my arm with duct tape holding, like, with a spoon. Mm-hmm. This is like a week or two after my, like, getting to Walter Reed. And I'm eating a bowl of cereal, and she walks in, and I was sitting up, and I knew who she was. I might have said a word started with an S. Mm-hmm. As I looked at her, I went, oh, geez, and fell back in my bed, and I started snoring. And she watched me do the whole thing, because I locked eyes, and I was like, oh, no. Boom. Mm-hmm. And she walked over, and then she started asking me questions, like, what are you doing? And I gave her my name, rank, my social security number. Mm-hmm. And she goes, what? And I gave it to her one more time, and she goes, I don't understand what you're doing. I said, well, if the enemy captures you, that's what you give them. I said, so taking leave or leave. I said, I don't care. And then Kelsey yelled at me for being rude, and I said, I'm not talking to anybody. And I didn't, because I was able to, I just wanted to do it my own way. Mm-hmm. And all I wanted at Walter Reed was to retire. That's all I wanted. I just want to get out of here. I need to get on with my life. They had a social worker I was supposed to see. I think her name was Christine. Very nice lady, Christy from Wisconsin. We talked football. And it's just like the movies, right? You talk football, then she asks a serious question, and then the next thing out my mouth was, this is not a movie. We're not going to talk about that. You want to talk about football? Great. You want to waste an hour of your time? No problem. I'll be here because they make me. But we're not going to have any serious conversations about my life and what I'm going through, because I'm fine. Now, I didn't talk to anybody except for the guys that were going through it and their families, Kelsey and I. And I think that's what really saved me from having any post-traumatic stress or anything like that, or any worries. But then I retired. I got out. I got my wish. I wanted to leave Walter Reed. Not that it was a bad place, but I just wanted to get on with my life. Moved into my in-laws' house while the house was being built in Maine. We moved to Texas. And on the wall was a picture of me, and it's a pretty well-known picture of, well, not well-known, but it's one of the ones on the internet all the time. Me, full battle gear, orange hat, says Vassar Vulcans. I think that picture was taken a day before I got blown up. And I went to the bedroom, my in-laws' bedroom, because I was sleeping at the thing in their house. I got to take their room over because they were on the bottom floor and whatever. And I sat down on the edge of bed and looked at that picture, and I just broke down. I mean, like, just was crying. I was uncontrollably. And Kelsey, like, walked in and saw me doing it. She's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just don't know who I am anymore. Like, what am I going to do? The Army's done with me. I'm not a combat leader of soldiers anymore. Staff Sergeant Travis Mills. I'm not anybody. Like, at Walter Reed, I was the guy everybody wanted to, like, talk to about their things and work out with. And I was like a mentor and a motivator. And then I was in Texas in my in-laws' house with no direction or purpose, really. And I had to refine my direction and purpose. And it wasn't for lack of, like, Gary Sinise Foundation or the Walter Reed trying to help me or things like that. It was just like, I didn't know what I was going to do or who I was. And then, through working out, starting to speak, the foundation, refining my sense of direction and purpose, I was able to get through that. But yeah, that was one of the toughest days I think I had. It was the day after I retired. I flew to Texas and I sat there and I thought, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. Now, look back, you look back now and I'm sitting here, 12 years after my injury. I owned a few businesses. I had the nonprofit, and then get the chance to be friends with you, which is like right here. Life's pretty good, but I don't know if I'd be the same person without my daughter and my wife on my side, without the Gary Sinise Foundation showing me that people are there for you in your worst times, your darkest times. Yeah. And as well as just kind of having that, I guess, I just kind of can't swear on the podcast, but I have the attitude of like, well, let's just try it. Why not?
Yeah.
Because I'm not really afraid of a lot of things anymore. After almost dying and losing everything that I had going for me, I just try a lot of new things now.
Yeah. And you're open though about the challenges that you've had along the way, and I think that's been kind of the shift, so to speak.
Yeah, now I am. I wasn't for a long time.
Yeah.
Then I got older.
Yeah.
Wiser. Yeah. And I realized that you don't always got to put a brave face on, because I think that you can be vulnerable and it can give other people strength, which I've learned through my presentations and understanding that people do have hard times and that it's okay, and you can help them through that by sharing your story. But I share my story in a positive way. I mean, I don't want people to think I'm a sob story. So right when I get people on the edge of crying in my presentation, I'll hit them with a joke. What? To bring them right back. But yeah.
You're an inspiration. Yeah.
No.
You are. And I mean to think, okay, so your 16th wedding anniversary, I saw on social media. You have a tap room. You have a foundation. You're the writer of 2 books. You have, how many businesses?
Couple.
You're like the mayor of Maine.
I love going into debt. I love going into debt, yeah.
So what is next? Like, what is on the horizon? What's next for Travis Mills?
Well, I'm excited for the PATH program to have the arm extended at the foundation, if you will.
Yes.
So we can offer 40-plus weeks of family programming, as well as the 30 weeks of post-traumatic stress programming. I do have a restaurant with some friends that we just opened 2 years ago that has a brewery opening in 3 weeks next to it. And then, I don't know, Kelsey says we're done having kids, so I don't think we're doing that. No, we're not having kids. No, look, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
I got a few things.
A handful?
You're
busy?
Without having a hand. What?
Oh my God. No.
Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Good.
Yeah. But is it possible without having the stabilization of a house and having a whole army behind me of people that care? Probably not. Am I the same person without my family? Which everybody knows Gary's all about his family. As much as he loves the veterans, first responders, the snowball, the kids, and people, like his family is core, and I think that's what we have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
He's good looking, I'm good looking. Like you get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, you've been such an inspiration to him and obviously to me and everybody who has met you, and just it's a beautiful thing, and everybody needs to go and get your book.
Yeah.
Well, Travis, thank you so much for coming on the Gary Sinise Foundation podcast. It is, I don't think I'll ever laugh this hard on a podcast.
Right.
This has been you.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm funny looking. I get it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, question for you. What's going on in your life? The listeners want to know.
We'll talk about that later.
Stay tuned.
Stay
Boop,
tuned.
boop, 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 boop.
Okay, well, as you know, Max Sinise launched this podcast and inspires it still. So, as we do with every show, we'll let him close out the show.
You've been listening to GSF Podcast, the official podcast of the Gary Sinise Foundation. If you'd like to find out more about what the foundation is up to, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit GarySiniseFoundation.org. Make sure to tune in next time for more interviews, and thanks for joining us.